So we're connected to the cloud server. I've got this stuff lined up, and we're live on YouTube in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everyone out there in internet land and our great big Grizzly family. We are excited to once again be coming to you live and direct via the YouTube. I'm that old that I call it the YouTube. That's okay. But we find ourselves once again here at the State of the Grizz, our bi-weekly segment that brings you the latest and greatest information about Gutman Community College and the Grizzly family. As always, our show features and highlights various offices and top-notch key holders to the different parts that make the campus work for you, the student, you, the family member, and you, the community that makes Gutman hum. I am one half of the co-hosting team. I am the Director of Student Leadership and Campus Life, Nestor Melendez. Happy to be alive, happy to be healthy, not happy to be locked in my house, but happy to be broadcasting to everyone over the internets with my partner, my colleague, my boss, my ace, my mellow, my man, Vice President of Student Engagement, Charles Pryor. VP, how do you find yourself this beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
Nestor, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the guests that are watching. Good afternoon to our guest that's joining us today. You know, I'm always a little bit of mixed emotions over the last few weeks. I learned this morning that today would have been George Floyd's 47th birthday. So that's heavy on my heart today. But over the top of my heart, I'm wearing, my Breonna Taylor Say Her Name t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
And I want to give respect to her and her family. Sorry, as I'm having some technical camera difficulties here. So with everything that's going on, you mentioned us all being home, in the middle of the pandemic, in the midst of a social movement, I have a bunch of mixed emotions. Like I said, it being George's, birthday, I'm reflective, and I have these shirts that I am, previewing and making sure that we continue to keep these things at the forefront. So that's what's on my mind. That's what my mind is, and I'm happy to have this medium. While we are locked in our homes. It's an opportunity to stay safe and protect ourselves and our family and our loved ones from the pandemic. But it also gives us time to be reflective and focused on the things that we need to do in preparation to change the world, which I think is, perfect considering our guest today. She really helps students, and her and her operation prepares them, gives them an opportunity to experiment and experience the world beyond the walls of Gutman. And it's ideal because there's another, you want to go into the world of work, but you need to be a contributor to the world around you. So that's the connection that I see here as like I said, we have time to be reflective in these moments. But, you asked me how I was doing. That's what's going through my head. You know what I mean? It's a million and one things. And, as I said, I'm happy to be here, happy to have these moments. And, again, I apologize for my technical difficulties. Hope no one got seasick as I messed with the camera for 30 seconds there.
So I'm watching us on the channel. It looks fine. It just looks like you got hit with an earthquake. So that's where we are. But
Jersey's weather is sometimes different, but I don't know if we get earthquakes that New York doesn't.
I mean, in 2020, anything is possible.
Yeah, exactly.
But to your point, I think we all are in a very crowded mind space. We find ourselves burdened by so many of the things that are happening in the world, and that's why we try to provide this little respite, this little oasis, if you will, for the community. And my hope, my belief, my thought is that we're going to be able to do that, especially when we talk with our guest, Miss Valora Blackson, about the newly rechristened Center for Career Partnerships. Wait, Career Preparation and
Preparation and
Partnerships.
partnerships.
Yeah.
You got to say the whole thing like a Tribe Called Quest. You know, but to your point, it absolutely is an honor to have you here, and I want to, you know, do the honor of formally introducing you. As Nestor said, we have our director, Miss Valora Blackson. She comes to us with a wealth of experience and has been at Gutman for just over 5 years, and has made, you know, tremendous strides in helping prepare our students, and also in obtaining and working to gain resources to do the work within the office, which is, you know, just yeoman's work as we move toward continuing to build a better Gutman, which means more resources, more opportunities for our students. So Valora, welcome. Thank you for, again, being here this afternoon. So please tell us a little bit about what's going on in the world of CCPP, for short, just in case, you know, because I couldn't say it just now, but I got the acronym right.
Okay, so we are the Center for Career Preparation and Partnerships, and I know my team is watching. Hi, team. We have a very passionate team. We're very small, but we are committed to positioning our students for career success. And just to give you a little bit about me and my journey, I have been at Gutman now for a little over 5 years, but I've been in career services for 20 years. Most of my adult career has been in career services, and I do currently consider myself a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional in the career space. And my goal is to really position students from underserved and historically underrepresented backgrounds for career success. That is my passion, and when I'm doing that kind of work, I feel like I'm walking in my purpose. So to give you a little bit of information about CCPP, which is what people refer to us as, because Center for Career Preparation and Partnerships is a bit long. We are really focused on positioning students for success by creating a foundation. We know that our students are not going directly into the workforce. Most of our students do transfer, and that's great. We definitely support earning the baccalaureate degree. It is going to provide students with more career options. But while you're here, we want to make sure that you build a foundation that you can continue to build on once you actually transfer to a 4-year school. So our mission is about career preparation. It is a rebranding of sorts. We were conceived as an office that primarily focused on industry partnerships and community engagement for most of the time that I've been in the position. And then recently, a little over a year ago, we realized that there needed to be more focus on the career preparation piece. Our students are so fortunate because there are so many career touch points at Gutman across the institution, but we recognize that a greater focus would be extremely helpful, and we wanted to be more in line with the other CUNY campuses. They all have career centers. So we rebranded to really focus on that, and the primary way we do that, we're a little bit different from other CUNY career centers in that their focus is mostly on full-time jobs. For students who are graduating, we focus primarily on helping students develop their job readiness skills. We refer to these as competencies. Just to give you a sense of some of them, these really refer to what many people recognize as soft skills. So problem solving, creative thinking, teamwork, the aptitude for technology, the professionalism and work ethic, and communication, which is a huge one. So we really help students become aware of their strengths. These skills are important, but their own gifts and talents are equally as important. But we want students to know, in addition to really identifying what they're strong in, there's a set of soft skills that employers expect new college graduates to have. So that's what we do. We help students become aware of these skills. We help them identify the skills that are strong, and we help them with representing these skills in the resume and in the interview. We also provide a wealth of experiences for students so that they can get work-related experiences. Internships are definitely the signature work-based learning experience that we help cultivate. So we help do that by building partnerships with employers and helping our programs of study develop internship opportunities for our students. We actually have a lot that's new that I want to share. So much is new, and I'm so excited to share. So the pandemic definitely impacted the work that we do, because so much energy and effort goes into developing internships. We had to abandon that this spring once we moved off campus. Many partners, however, are beginning to offer virtual internships. So we're going to be focusing on virtual internships fall 2 for our IT students, and then in the spring for students in the business capstone course. And I'm excited to share that the institution got a grant to develop paid virtual internships. So paid internships is not something that we have been fortunate enough to have in the past. Most of our academic internships have been unpaid. So we are extremely excited about this grant. We are hiring someone to go out and develop paid virtual internships for spring. So much of the work that we're doing now is from our virtual platform, which is Zoom. And even though there's a lot that has changed that we are not happy about, we're not happy that we cannot meet with our students in person, but we have been able to pivot, and we are offering a robust career preparation program through Zoom this semester. We have about 3 different programs a week. Some of the career preparation programs we facilitate. We have many employers that are joining us for career chats. There is just so much that we're doing, and we're really excited about it because we feel that we wouldn't be able to scale to this degree if we weren't virtual. So we're really just trying to leverage the fact that we're in this virtual moment and maximize it to the extent of our abilities. We are also really teaching students about virtual internships, how they differ from in-person internships. We have workshops on that. We also have a virtual etiquette series so that students know how to show up virtually. Many students in their classes don't turn on their cameras, for example. But when you're interfacing with employers, when you're interviewing for virtual opportunities, you have to show up on camera. So we teach students how to do that. We recently launched Grizz Jobs. You may have noticed that. It's in the My Gutman portal. Now, I will say, as I've already mentioned, one of the ways that we differ from other CUNY Career Centers is that we don't really focus on full-time jobs, but we have always helped students find part-time jobs. So we are ramping up with that focus because many of our students lost their jobs as a result of the pandemic. And we recognize that so many of them are in need of part-time jobs. The economy is still very slow, but we are putting all of our energy, effort, all hands on deck to make sure that we find out about as many job opportunities as possible. So we have this newly launched Grizz Jobs, which is where we'll be posting all of our job opportunities. Right now, we're using it for our federal work studies students. And if I can put a plug out, we are in need of more Gutman supervisors for work study opportunities. We have 38 work study students. We want to make sure all of them are able to be placed. And so we're looking for our Gutman community to step up and help us place these students. But we're really excited to finally launch Grizz Jobs. It's going to make it easier for students to find out about job opportunities. It also really provides Gutman with a one-stop shop for jobs. Prior to this, we've been emailing job opportunities to students. Students don't always open their emails. So this is going to make it more seamless for all of us as we seek out job opportunities for our students, internships as well. We purchased through a grant a software program called Big Interview, and Big Interview helps students prepare for interviews. Oftentimes, our students will have strong resumes and they still don't get the job. A lot of the feedback we hear is that they felt they didn't do well in the interview. We have always offered mock interviews, but now Big Interview will allow students to record themselves and practice, and it is perfect for this climate in which their interviews will be virtual. So we're really excited about that. We actually have a workshop this week on that, and we will have continuous workshops as well. We also have a new Instagram page. We have very talented college assistants that man that page, and they're doing such an excellent job. We've grown quickly with students, and everything that we're doing, all of our programming, any changes that we make, we highlight it on our Instagram page. We have 3 new peer leaders. We are so excited about this because this really extends our team and allows us to do more. The peer leaders are grant funded, and they are really focused on helping our students prepare for paid internships. Paid internships work a bit differently from unpaid internships. Paid internships are definitely much more competitive, and we want our students to be ready to compete for these internships in the spring. So there's going to be lots of new programming coming out of our office that really focuses on the students who are interested in paid internships, really taking them through a training program to get them ready for these internships. So I think I covered everything. It's a lot that we have going on that's new, and we're just really excited to serve students in this new way.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just, before VP brings it to the questions that he has, I just want to remind folks that are listening to us that we have the chat channel open. So if folks have questions, to please populate that into the chat, and we'll be responding to those shortly while we're doing this. And we're also live on Instagram. Gutman Community College's Instagram channel is broadcasting us as well. So we're showing up in multiple places for ease of access to the information. VP Pryor.
You know, first of all, thank you. It sounds like when the pandemic hit, you all really, pivoted and went another direction to help students face not only some old challenges, but some new ones. As you know, almost all interviews are happening over this medium. What has the student feedback been like with all of these enhancements, I'm going to call it?
Yeah. I think it has definitely been a challenge, just like we're seeing a challenge on the academic side with online education. I think taking everything online in terms of career preparation has definitely been a bit of a challenge. For example, when we meet with students, even to work on resume, we try to get them to meet over Zoom. We try to get them to come on camera. Many of our students are camera shy. We try to gently encourage it because we know that this sort of boldness and being able to be on camera and represent yourself on camera, and so that we can give students insight. So if we think they need stronger lighting or whatever it is they need, and we do recognize that there are some challenges with the virtual space, sharing your background with the world. So we show students how to use the virtual background. If that's an issue, we've had students who felt more comfortable being on camera outdoors, and that's fine as well. So we're just trying to get students to a level where they're able to compete, because you cannot be on Zoom and just have a picture up and expect to interview and secure that position. Like, you have to be comfortable showing your face. So in everything we do, we try to encourage that. And again, we have workshops that really help position students for success during this virtual time. But we actually think that, you know, the virtual platforms will continue even when we're on campus and we're able to do in-person programming. We still feel that we'll always use Zoom, because one of the things we've discovered is we can do more. It is easier to get employers to participate because they're connecting from their living rooms, as opposed to having to get on the subway and trek to Gutman. So we see a lot of potential in continuing virtual programming, but we'll also have, you know, in-person programming too for our students. But we think a lot of companies will continue to use virtual programming, and many companies are saying that they may remain remote. And so students are really going to have to understand how to work remotely. And so that's why we're really putting so much effort into virtual internships, so that they can learn that skill.
Very cool. I mean, and one of the things that you talked about, and I've seen this a little bit as well, you know, with my daughters, my oldest, you know, my youngest older daughter is 18. You know, and that's to tell you, I've like adopted daughters over the years, you know, young ladies that I've, you know, mentored, and young men that I've mentored. But in particular, you know, two of them, you know, one is on, you know, my daughter at home is a freshman in college, working online though. And then, you know, I have another, you know, young lady who is, you know, half and half. You know, some of her job assignments are online, and then the other half she's going into the office. You know, and I wondered, you know, and you would be the person that would kind of help navigate this. You know, are there areas that seem to be moving online more and more? You know, like you said, some places have said they're never going back. What's the proportion? Are there certain fields where that just seems to be more of the case, where, like you said, they feel like they can be as productive and maybe even more, moving more of their workforce to a virtual environment?
Yeah, well, we're definitely seeing that with IT jobs, and that really isn't anything new. If anyone has ever been able to work from home, it's been people in the IT industry. So they were the first to say to us, okay, we're ready to go. We have virtual internships. We are also seeing it with some businesses. I'm not seeing it as much with our nonprofit partners, but we are also trying to position ourselves to really help them think about virtual internships. I think it can be very, very overwhelming to have to manage someone in the virtual space. And so really helping nonprofit employers define and decide on like projects that would be a good fit for virtual work is something that we're really hoping to do as we begin recruiting for internships for spring. So yes, I would say IT, followed by many businesses that are working from home. We actually had a partnership last semester with the Small Business Services, New York City Small Business Services, and we were able to work with small businesses who were interested in virtual internships. Some of them were IT, but some of them, you know, were businesses in other areas. So I think as employers figure out how to do their work from home, we will see more virtual opportunities for our students in the form of internships and in the form of part-time jobs.
Very cool. So, you know, my last real structured question is, as you know, over the last 7 months, we've, you know, been trying to better navigate the pandemic. What's the one piece of advice that you would give our students and, you know, anyone who's seeking new employment during this pandemic time that, you really think would, catapult their chances of, successfully landing a new position or a new job or a new internship?
So I definitely think that developing the ability to work remotely is something that's going to be important for both future internships and future jobs. I also think just embracing this moment for what it is and recognizing that when we're forced out of our comfort zones, we develop new skills. We had to figure out how to be flexible, how to be adaptable, how to get our work done remotely. All of these are new skills that are going to be so useful for our students, right? So it's easy to focus on what the pandemic took away, but we've also gained some new skills. I also think, I say this to students all the time, some of us have a little bit more time in a different way. I put in many more hours from home than I did at work, but I don't have that monster commute to worry about. And I think that for a lot of people, this is also a time to go deeper into self and to develop an inner fortitude, which you sort of have to even, survive the insanity. And I think that it's a good time for students to really reflect on what it is that they are interested in and want to do. So we're trying to capitalize on this time to get students to do more inner work. Students think that the careers are out there and that that's where you start, but we're trying to rope them back into self to do more inner work, to really define their skills and their interests, their values, to think about how their personality matters. So we really want students to leave with Gutman with a stronger sense of self. So experiences, doing internships, all of that is important, but we also want them to leave with a stronger sense of self. We want them to be able to execute on a career plan. We want to be able to help them do that. And we believe that these competencies can be a roadmap that's used for life, right? And we know that students will have to be self-directed in their job search. And I think that that is the biggest surprise. It certainly was a surprise for me when I graduated all those years ago. I thought the degree itself would be a ticket to a good job, but we know that that's not always the case. Many students wind up being underemployed because the job they get is the job they get. So we really want them to understand that you have to be in the pilot seat. You are going to be responsible for driving your own career. I like to use the metaphor of a game. I know it's often overused, but I really think the labor market really is, it's like a game, right? Like there's certain rules and it takes certain strategies to win. So students, that game metaphor really resonates with students. Like, how are you going to win at this game? Like, you have to be very strategic. And so we want to help students do that so that they can leave with self-knowledge, understanding this labor market is competitive. I have to do everything in my power. I am responsible for self. I can develop new skills. I can drive the progression of my career. So we really focus on, the self-direction and having students feel empowered. Like, I know what my strengths are, and I'm going to seek out opportunities that utilize my strengths.
Very cool. Thank you so much. One, for all the work that you're doing, and two, for coming out today and sharing that information. I think it's important, especially during this time. Well, like you said, some of us have found that we're working a little bit more, but we also have a few more minutes to ourselves now that we don't have, for some, a monster commute in and out of the city to and from our jobs. Wherever they may be and wherever we may live. So, and I recognize that there are many people who are working more and having to travel more because of, relaxed transportation schedules. But, as you said, if we can, through experiential learning and internships, help our students to better navigate the world of work, but more importantly, to better understand themselves, then I think we're ahead of the game. Right, Ness?
Yeah.
I mean, we try to remain ahead of the game. As always, I'm someone who very much reflects on how things used to be to try to understand how we got to where we've gotten. And so, I go back to my time as an undergrad. The career office, um, tucked away in the hills of Oneonta, New York, offered us uh, job opportunities, either on campus, mostly, but there were a few partnerships or opportunities off campus with different agencies that were tied to particular majors and certain programs that we had. Um, but that was a time where you had paper resumes. There really wasn't an internet site like Indeed or Monster or our own
Ooh.
baked in uh, uh, website where you could potentially download a resume and keep it on file with his office like the CCPP, and then outside agencies could come and look at that.
Right.
We had a binder, and
Right.
representatives of those agencies that were looking for employees would come to campus and leaf through the binder, and if your resume happened to stand out, then you got contacted. To now, I feel like we're 180 degrees and 5,000 years in the future, where anyone with an internet connection and a couple of apps can upload a resume, can do a video profile, and reach thousands.
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't have and what we need is, I think, the guidance that Valora and her team offer, which is,
Absolutely.
how do we use these tools properly to ensure that your message is broadcast correctly, that the
Mm-hmm.
potential opportunities are seeing you as your best self, your best professional self, and that fit that is talked about, which is a problematic term, but right now is the best term I can use, is so that you end up working in a space that values, appreciates, and understands your particular skills, talents, and abilities,
Right.
and is able to maximize that for you, as opposed to, what once upon a time was just seen as glorified office work. You answered some phones, you made some copies, you sent some faxes, maybe you got coffee for people. So I really appreciate, hearing, Valora emphasize that we're doing our best as an institution to be cutting edge and
Right.
live at the very cusp of the movement.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Ness, but I can remember writing my first resume. It actually was for a class. It wasn't composition two, it was technical writing, which was the second level of college English. And I can remember writing it and not knowing what the components of a resume were. You know what I mean? I'd had, a couple of jobs by then, but I'd always just kind of filled in the application. And then I remember looking at a resume assignment on my syllabus and thinking, what's that?
Yeah.
And as you said, then after I wrote my resume, I found my way to the career office and introduced myself to the woman that ran our career office. And first thing she asked me, have you ever written a resume? And I was like, yeah, sure. And like you said, I pulled out this paper, and gave it to her. And while I got I think an A- or a B+ on the paper, on the assignment, once the career person got a hold of it, she gave it back all marked up, trying to help me to understand, to your point, not just how to get it recognized in the binder that was about that thick, but more importantly, keywords and how to communicate the things that were important about my previous experience. All of the things that Valora is talking about here and then helped me to, again, for the first time, write a cover letter. Because I was kind of like, what's a cover letter? I'd never heard of that. But these are the things that folks need to know and understand if they're going to prepare for the world of work. And forget about a mock interview.
Well, that brings me to a question that I have for Valora before we get into the questions that we have in the chat that the students are putting in there. The resume, is it still that living paper document, or have we moved to the place where people want to connect virtually and see the person that they're going to hire first? Have we evolved to the place where the first interview really is what's going to give folks a sense of what your resume is, or are we still needing that document? Does it still hold as much weight as it seemed to once upon a time?
Yeah, it still holds as much weight. Students still submit resumes for jobs and internships. The employers will quickly look through resumes and decide who they want to interview. So there is still great importance that is placed on resumes. And one of the things that I wanted to add before I forget, because I think it's such a gem, so many of our students work part-time jobs, or at least they were working before the pandemic. And many of the students that I've personally seen, they don't place any value at all in these jobs. These are jobs that are in retail or food service, and they just dismiss these jobs outright because they're minimum wage jobs and they cannot wait to get beyond these jobs. These jobs are such an ideal space in which to develop the soft skills that one needs to be successful. So I am really invested in trying to get our students to think about their part-time work in a different way. You can develop greater professionalism skills, a stronger work ethic. You can be someone who solves problems. The thing that has changed about resumes, employers are expecting to see impact represented on resumes, right? That was something we didn't do back in the day. We just had our bullet points and said what we did in previous jobs, but now they're looking for impact. They want to know, how did you make a difference in these positions? So really getting students to think about these part-time jobs in a certain way, and understanding like this is an important proving ground for you. You can really work on developing all of these skills. You can develop greater impact. You can be leaderly no matter what role you have. I think that's the hardest thing to get students to see. Like, I get you may not want to be a manager, but employers are demanding that students be leaderly. They want students who are able to work without much supervision, right? We definitely need that skill in this remote time. So there is just so much that students can derive from their part-time jobs, and that is really something that is a major focus. But yes, resumes have changed a bit because jobs are much more competitive. Internships are very competitive. So we try to help students build strong resumes that really highlight the impact that they've made, both in their part-time jobs and previous internships, as well as even in volunteer experiences. But it still pretty much works the same way. That is your calling card. The employer will look that over and then decide who they want to interview out of the batch.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think that leads us into one of the first questions that we had. One of our students, Mr. Jaleel Kearney, had asked about college fairs. And so while the college fairs focus on bringing different colleges to Gutman for our students to consider that transfer to a four-year institution that may be within CUNY or outside, I do recall that your office in particular held career fairs where we brought agencies to campus for students to meet, to potentially give their resume over to those representatives, or get a business card and have a follow-up conversation. So I'm guessing that your office has evolved to figure out how to deliver the career fair to our community during this time.
We haven't evolved to that point yet, but it is something that we have thought about. I think what we find more impactful is having employers come and do these career chats with students, but we know that some of the other CUNY schools have tried the virtual career fair format to varying success. It's something that we're thinking about. We're trying to figure out where the jobs are, and typically what we've been doing the moment we hear about a job. For example, Amazon listed many jobs, thousands of jobs that are located in the New York City area, in the boroughs, which is tremendous because prior to them listing those jobs, if you wanted to work for Amazon in New York, you had to come to Staten Island, which is a lovely place, but it is a bit of a distance from the city, or you had to work in Jersey, warehouse there. So there were some jobs, we were on it, we made sure students knew. Recently, Amazon listed some seasonal opportunities. We made sure that students knew. So we do have our ear to the ground. As soon as we find out about opportunities, we're letting students know immediately, but it remains to be seen whether or not we will host a virtual career fair. But we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not an easy task. As we're learning in student life, we're hosting Zoom meetings and doing breakout rooms, but it's still a difficult user interface to just move bodies around in that space, especially because the focus on controlling how people show up in rooms is critical, considering some of the difficulties. Staying in that vein, though, one of our students, Miss J. Lynn, mentioned that there was a Blackboard course on how to use Blackboard, and then wondered if there would be similarly potential for a discussion with your office on how to use Zoom in order to maximize their presence and to use it as the tool that we know it will become necessary to be able to use with great facility. So, I don't know if that's a question so much as a kind of like, hey, CCPP, can you help us out with something like that?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Jade. We do have a workshop. Actually, it's a virtual etiquette series, and one of the workshops is all about how to show up on Zoom. We are definitely going to be doing more of that, especially as we move closer to these interviews that are coming up. We want students to really show up strongly. So we will be doing more. So stay tuned. You will see more workshops that are focused on learning how to leverage Zoom.
Cool. Thank you so much. That's where we are with the questions that we got in the chat. So I'm gonna kick it back to my co-host, Senor VP, for the rollout to the end of the discussion.
Again, thank you, Valora. I think what you shared here is of the roadmap to career success for our students. As Nestor shared and I shared, that roadmap looks 180 degrees different than it did, 5-10 years ago when he and I were undergrads. Pursuing our bachelor's degrees, like I said, 5-10 years ago, right, Ness?
It's too long.
But it is, confident that as students get more and more engaged with your office, that they will leave Gutman better prepared. So thank you so much for that. And students, if you're watching live, if you're watching this later, make sure you plug in. You have a tremendous opportunity to be better prepared and be better armed with skills and other things in your tool belt that are going to make you better candidates for the positions that you want, but also to help you to figure out what field it is that you want to go into. We do a lot of research in the classroom about those things, and you have some opportunities through internships and other experiences to learn more about the fields that you have interest in. So take those opportunities and figure out exactly what it is that you want to do, so that you can have a long, successful career in whatever field it is that you care to join. So again, thank you, Valora, for the discussion.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the team in CCPP. You are all awesome, and I appreciate you and your contribution to the government mission. You know, as Nestor said, usually we start this off with thanking a ton of people, and I know I skipped past that today because I shared, you know, a little bit about what the 14th of October is, but I do want to take a moment to thank our essential workers, to really thank our healthcare workers, and to remind people that in just less than 3 weeks, you have the opportunity to vote if you are able to, and contribute in that way. But those of us that are able to vote, please make sure that you get to the polls early. I would say often, but make sure you get there early. You get to vote one time. If you have a mail-in ballot, my suggestion would be, if that's the way in which you want to contribute and submit your vote, maybe take that into the post office if you're able to make it to the post office. But if you're able to vote in person, please make sure you do so. One of the things that should be talked about more is that just recently the Supreme Court is allowing the current presidential administration to shut down the census early. Why is the census important? Census is important because it obviously helps everyone to be counted. And what it does is it helps to show population distribution. In areas that have greater amounts of people occupying and populating that space, greater numbers of resources are needed, financial, spatial representation. So what you want to do is make sure that you are counted so that as we look at resources, look at representation in Congress, in the US Congress, in state senates and state congresses, you want to make sure that your neighborhood is allocated the appropriate resources and appropriate representation on a local, national, and regional level. So please, if you have not responded to the census, know that you have, I think, until either tomorrow or Friday to submit that, as the court, as I said, recently shut down the extension that the U.S. Census Bureau had initially requested because they understand that things have been slowed down because of the pandemic. So if you intend to be counted, and I hope that all of you will, because no matter your status with regard to immigration or whatever, you know, demographic you fall into, you still have the right to be counted. And those types of questions around immigration status and residency were removed from the census questionnaire for that reason, so that everyone would feel comfortable in being counted in the census and making sure that we understand how and where population has been distributed and how it has shifted over the last 10 years, which is how frequently the U.S. does a census, is every 10 years. So please make sure you take the time to do that. But again, going back to our thank yous, our essential workers, our healthcare workers, those that are holding down the fort at Gutman and our public safety and our facilities teams, we appreciate you. And all of you, especially out there that have stayed home so that you can stay safe and that we can keep each other safe. That's how we made it to this stage of the pandemic, where we are now able to open things up. But keep in mind the number of people that we did lose is close to 250,000 people now through the pandemic. And my prayers to anyone and their families who have lost anyone to the COVID-19 and related diseases. But also never want to forget that we're in the middle of a social movement that I hope you all have found a way for you to engage in, for you to contribute to, so that we can continue changing the world. There's been a highlight to this social movement and Black Lives Matter and and ensuring that everyone feels included and no one feels excluded. But inclusion is the first step. Equity and ensuring that everyone has an equal voice is the next step. And the only way that we can get there is together. So please make sure that you stand up and contribute in the way that you feel most comfortable. So thank you. Like I said, Nesta, my apologies about not starting off in our traditional way, but that was heavy on my mind this morning when I realized today was George's birthday.
Yeah, listen, and there's no need to apologize. This platform has become many things over its evolution and life cycle, and so where else can we ensure that certain messages, certain moments in our recent history are not forgotten, and that they stay consistently in our current worldview. This is the way we do it. Like you, I want to say a quick thank you to everybody, but especially to our guest today, Ms. Valora Blackson from the Center for Career Preparation and Partnerships. I finally said that the right way. I'm going to take a quick moment to do a screen share just so that folks understand that if you do happen to go to our Gutman webpage, this is their webpage currently. And the beautiful thing about it is you can see that you can schedule an appointment with them through Starfish. So they are one of the accessible offices. Their mission and vision are front and center. But here's the staff, right? These are the women that make this office hum and work. And so Valora, Patricia Jean, Tasreen Rahman, and Joanie Sifrain really come together to provide for our community the kind of networking, the kind of partnerships, the kind of motivation and behind the scenes push that our students need in order to land in the places that they want in New York City and potentially beyond. And so, Valora, thank you. And very quickly, I just want to give you a space to say your goodbye message if you have one for the community before we end the show.
Mm-hmm. I think in terms of this moment when so much is difficult and so much is uncertain, what really keeps me focused and really moving is gratitude. Just knowing that even though our lives are turned upside down, we are still here. I want to end on this note. We are so passionate about the work that we do in the CCPP. So I just encourage students to reach out to us, whether you need a part-time job or you're interested in an internship. If you have ideas about what you're thinking about in terms of career, we can help you explore that further. If you have no idea, that is perfectly fine. Sometimes students don't know that that's perfectly fine to not know what you want to do. We can help you with exploration, but we can also help you just focus on your skill set and really develop your skill set so that you are positioned for success no matter what career path you choose. So there is just so much value in connecting with us. We'll be reaching out to you again next week, sending our calendar again, reminding you all the programming. We are really putting a lot of effort into this programming, and there are so many gems. In addition to the individual career chats, we have some panels that are coming up. We will have a panel on law for anyone who's interested in a career in law. We will have a human resources panel. So we are really just going above and beyond in terms of cultivating excellent programming that we think will benefit our students. So my parting words, connect with us. There are so many ways to do that. You can connect through our Instagram page. Again, we'll be sending out constant reminders about all that we're doing. So make sure you check your emails. Our email address will say Gutman Partnerships That's how you'll know it's us. So we look forward to connecting.
Thank you,
Very
Valora. Really do appreciate that. And as a reminder, just something that you and I partnered on a couple of weeks back, to students to be mindful of internet fraud, especially around soliciting for jobs and things like that. If you get a solicitation for a position and it hasn't come from the Center for Career Preparation and Partnerships, double check in with them before you respond and give anyone any identifying information about you and your family or anything like that. Ms. Blackson and her team will work with you to ensure that it's legitimate, but 99 times out of 100 solicitations or offers for jobs or internships will come directly from that office. So please check in with her about that. And again, Valora, thank you so very much for your time here today. Nestor, I know we always have flyers and things that we want to share with the community. So what do we have this week?
Yeah, coming to you live and direct. We're gonna do another screen share for the purposes of just giving folks a sense of like what to look for. This is Gutman's homepage, and if you scroll down here and you click events, you're gonna see all of our events as they are made available to us. And there's this little hyperlink right down here that says more events, and if you click on that, you go one page in, and that will show you the latest and greatest events as they are happening. So we are smack dab in the middle of LGBTQ month, so we have a couple of events posted that are for folks interested in the LGBTQ programming. Again, we ask you to come to the website. There's so many, too many to name, but know that if you see the glow in the dark neon Rainbow Pride Heart, it's an LGBTQ month event for us, and we want you to check that out. The wellness group meets every Wednesday, so exactly right now they're getting together for the wellness group because we're paying attention to your mental health. We stand against domestic violence. That's tomorrow. We're asking folks to wear purple and to create hashtags to the college so that we can see your feeds and see your pictures and your posts and celebrate you and acknowledge that you're standing with us against domestic violence. And tomorrow night, a very special ending to Latinx Heritage Month. We're going to have another great Grizzly House Party. It's going to come to you over the internets. We're going to have focus on Noche Latina or Latin night. So the music is going to be reggaeton, salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia, plena, bomba, all of the musics that pay homage to the Latin and Hispanic culture. Free, obviously, but you're going to be able to click the link right there. So it's at tinyurl.com, LHMN, Noche Latina. And we're hoping that everyone from the community comes out. This is just for Gutman folks, but it's not just for students. It's for everybody. So come hang out, participate in the chat, be with us, listen to some good music. It's an opportunity for us to get a sense of that community back that we've lost while being locked down in this pandemic. But more important than anything, we want folks to get out there and vote. We want you to use the gift that you have been given to help shift this country in the way that it needs to. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm just going to tell you that you need to vote. I'm going to tell you that CUNY represents 275,000 plus students that can mobilize. That's 250,000. And so if we want to make a difference, show up and vote. But with that being said, that's the end of my commentary. So VP Pryor, take us home.
Again, thank you, Nestor. Thank you, Valora. Thank you for those that are watching here today. As usual, this has been a fantastic show. Really do appreciate your contributions to the institution. And students, we really do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. as always, we're thankful for everyone being able to remain safe, and want to, give our prayers to those that, are struggling with some things. And, but on the State of the Grizz, we're here to inform, to share, but also to receive. So if there are things that you would like to hear more about from the State of the Grizz, during the State of the Grizz, please share those things during the chat. We're here to support you. And as I always say, we got your back. So thank you for plugging in. Thank you for your commitment. And Grizzlies, remember, if there is some support that you need, that you're not quite sure, reach out. Send us an email, student.engagement@gutman.cuny.edu, and we'll figure out how we can best assist you. And that includes things, obviously, that are going on in the classroom. If you need academic support, if you need a piece of technology, if there are things that are going on at home, if you and the family, because of COVID-19, are struggling with financial issues, with healthcare stuff, or with some housing insecurities or food insecurities, we have resources to support those things as well. Gutman is invested in your success. And this is just another medium to get that message to you. But we hope that you'll reach out so that we can continue to support you and help you to reach your goals. Because our mission and the reason why we are here is to help you to get to that next plateau, whether that is continued education to a bachelor's, a master's, or some sort of terminal degree, or it is a job or an internship that helps you to navigate and make decisions about the rest of your life as a lifelong learner and someone who's civically engaged. Because like I said, we want you to participate and submit your census if you have not already. And those of us that have the opportunity, please make sure you get out and vote. Grizzlies, it's an absolute pleasure, not only to do the State of the Grizz, but to serve as your interim vice president for student engagement. So Nestor, it's a pleasure, man. Another fantastic show in the books. And, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks, same bat time.
Same bat channel.
My man.
Thank you.
Again, absolutely a pleasure. Grizzlies, remember, we got your back. And always make sure you take time and reflect on where we are as a society and the social movement. And as my t-shirt says, say her name, say their names, and make sure that we give homage to those that have come before us and fought for us by participating in the processes that have been set up so that we can contribute, but also that we can then hold accountable those that we have elected and put into offices for their actions and the actions of those that are technically sworn to protect us. So, like I said, say their names and hold those folks accountable. Grizzlies, it's my pleasure signing off. I wish you well. And one last time, because I just like to say it, but more importantly, I like to express it and make sure that y'all know it's real. We got your back. Take care, Grizzlies.